What is going on, guys? Dave from Wake Up It's Football with the Red Zone Blitz alongside of Alex Petakas from ESPN Milwaukee. Alex, how's your week been going, man?
It's been going good. I'm surprised I got invited back after my first outing last week.
No, it wasn't that bad. We actually got a positive response, so,
Nice.
2 weeks in a row. Today's Red Zone Blitz is brought to you by FanDuel.com. Join a one-day league for real money. League winners get their money instantly, and a new season begins the next day. That is FanDuel.com. You must be 18 years or older to gamble, so let's get right into the Red Zone Blitz. Question number 1. With Josh Freeman being released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where does he wind up? Is he going to be a backup, or is he, probably going to be a starter with the team?
Well, I would say if I had to bet money on whether or not Josh Freeman starts a game this year, I think I'd go no. So I definitely don't think he's going to be a starter anywhere. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to be signed as a backup and then eventually start because of injury. But you look at the suitors out there right now. Is there anyone out there who would sign him to bring him in day one as a starter? Like, we're going in the second quarter of the season now. Do you think there's a team who could just plug him in right away?
I could see maybe 4 teams.
Really?
I could see the Vikings
him just coming in and starting right when he arrives.
Let's give him a week. Let's give him a week to learn the playbook. But I mean, could you see him coming into Minnesota with Christian Ponder being out for 4 to 5 weeks with a rib injury, or the Raiders? Terrell Pryor's been kind of hurt by concussions.
I mean, there are teams where he may be a better option. I just don't know if there's a ton of teams who are going to go out of their way to sign him right now and bring him in to just become, and hand him the keys to their offense. Maybe there is. I mean, the Raiders are an interesting one. By the way, what's really interesting is Matt Flynn is now the third-string quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. I mean, how does that happen? Like, Reggie McKenzie was in Green Bay. He should have known if Matt Flynn was real or fake, right? And then you go out and give him money, and then he just totally disappoints after he already disappointed the Seahawks? I don't even understand that.
I don't know what that says about Matt Flynn anymore.
Yeah. I mean, third-string quarterback is almost close to you can't play quarterback in the NFL. Third-string quarterback on the Raiders is you can't play quarterback in the NFL, I think. I mean, it's the Raiders.
I think Matt Flynn loses a lot of his credibility with this move. You have Russell Wilson start over you last year. You have Terrell Pryor start over you this year. And after the game that he started this last weekend, fingers were pointed at him as to the poor performance. So Matt Flynn is, I think it might have been probably the last start of his career.
Really?
Maybe?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so. I'm with you on that. I don't think you rebound from third string on the Raiders to get another opportunity to start anywhere else, unless you just end up in a training camp, guys get injured, and you luck your way into another start. What do you think about the Browns for Josh Freeman? Suffered injuries last night.
Yep, we just learned that Brian Hoyer is out for the year with a torn ACL. This is tough because they still have Brandon Weeden, who they drafted in the first round last year, and he actually performed decent last night to help them win that game. I don't know if the Browns will make that move.
Yeah. I mean,
it's interesting, though.
What if they win in spite of Brandon Weeden or whoever they're going to throw back there at quarterback over the next couple of weeks, and all of a sudden they can legitimately win the AFC North, but they're still not getting good quarterback play? Like, what do you do then? Do you just not touch it because you're scared to, by trying to fix something that you break something? Or do you say, hey, Josh Freeman at one point was a pretty good starter in the league. For a season, he had us thinking he could be a franchise quarterback. What if we give him a shot here? Like, what if he's starting a playoff game in Cleveland,
It's possible, but to me, it's if they have consistent poor quarterback play, they don't really have a running game. How is that offense going to produce?
I don't know. How is it producing now? I mean,
that's a good question.
I don't. It's like they're an anomaly, and it's just so funny too because everyone thought they had given up, and really, I think that they just realized we can find a way to get by and win football games without Trent Richardson. Just don't turn the football over, create turnover. I mean, they're 3-0. It's ridiculous. I have no idea what's happening, and that division is so bad that if they won 9 games. They're in the hunt for the postseason.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I mean, that's how bad the AFC North is right now.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of this game from last night, you saw Brian Hoyer go out with that torn ACL. Buffalo quarterback E.J. Manuel has a sprained knee. these are Thursday night games. We saw a lot of injuries. Stevie Johnson went out as well. Is there an argument to be made that players need more time to rest their bodies before they play their next game?
I definitely think so. I mean, there's no coincidence that Thursday night we always see like a rash of injuries. The NFL, I mean, you hear all the stories all the time about guys who it takes them an hour to get out of bed on a Monday morning after a Sunday. You're just not. Your body's not ready, for game action. Even if at kickoff you feel like you're 100%, you're not running on the same tank that you run on with a full week to go. That's what I would think. I mean, when you look at Thursday is usually just the second day back at work after a Sunday, and then you got to get ready for a game. I mean, it's kind of your first day back at work because if you win on a Sunday, you're probably coming back to the team facility to actually perform physical activity outside of lifting weights on a Wednesday, which is your walkthrough, or a travel day for road teams. And then all of a sudden you're back out on the field for live game action. I mean, the NFL can talk about player safety all at once. It's about money, man. They're protecting themselves with lawsuits because there's no way it's good for guys' bodies to be coming back on a week as short as a Thursday. A Saturday game at the end of the year, if it's around like Christmas or New Year's, and we've seen a couple of those, a Saturday playoff game, sure. A Monday night game and then playing Sunday the next week, fine. But Thursday? I mean, it's like, that's way too short of a week, I think.
It is. I think, with football probably being the most physical sport out there. I mean, these guys are putting their bodies out on the line every single week, and for them to turn around trying to recover from the last week of play in a couple of days, like you said, it's definitely about money. They want to feature at least one game on NFL Network.
Yep.
They want to keep producing as much revenue as they can. So without a doubt, they're putting money and that revenue stream over the health of these players.
Yeah, and because a standalone game is going to generate money, you could say, oh, it's NFL Network and it's crappy matchups most of the time. I'm telling you, if Twitter tells you anything, more people were watching NFL Network last night than the MLB playoffs. And it was Browns-Bills. Mm-hmm. You and I, we're crazy about football, so it's not that weird to us. But, think about that for a second. Browns-Bills, and you have high-stakes MLB playoff games, and more people are into that football game.
And so I think the other thing that has to do with it is that you have 4 or 5 games played in a baseball series for the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's going to be multiple games played. As for the NFL, you only have a 16-game schedule.
Yeah.
So there's not as many games being played in the NFL compared to the MLB, and I think that's partially why we see things like that. But the Bills and the Browns. I mean,
Twitter was blowing up. All I kept reading about was Brandon Weeden, Brian Hoyer, E.J. Manuel. Like that, every tweet had to do with that last night. I follow a lot of people. Not a lot of baseball tweets coming out last night.
No.
I would bet, and again, I haven't checked this. I should fact check this before I come on. I wouldn't be surprised if it drew a higher rating than baseball, postseason baseball.
From what I saw on Twitter, like you're saying, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
So, I have another question in here about the Browns, but we might have to skip it because we actually hit on the Browns a little bit too much.
Yeah, whether or not they're real, is that what you're going to tell me?
Is it too good to be true with the Browns right now?
If I would say, I'll say no for the fact that they don't have to do that much to go pretty far this year. Like I said, if you go 9-7, you have a chance because I'm still not totally sold on the Bengals. They have flashes of greatness and flashes of being abysmal. That's inconsistent. And I know the Browns aren't a consistent team you count on either, but that division, I will say it's not too good to be true because if they could be slightly above average as a football team, no matter who's playing quarterback, they'll be in contention, which is great. I mean, that's way higher than the expectations you had when they were 0-2 and they got rid of Richardson, and people said they were going to have the first overall pick in the draft.
I think there's a difference between being in contention and actually snagging a wild card spot because many people are starting to forget that the Super Bowl champion is in that division. The champs are in that division in the Ravens. So I feel as if some people are starting to write the Ravens off, which should not be the case at all.
Really?
They're 2-2, and they're not being talked about.
I mean,
these are the defending champs.
Are they a good 2-2 or a bad 2-2?
The first couple of games they played, I looked at them like these are not Super Bowl champs.
Right.
But the last couple of games they played, I've kind of taken that back. They've been playing decent football at least.
So if you had to get it right now, you had to guess who wins that division. Go Baltimore?
I'm going to say the Ravens.
Okay.
Previously, before the season started, I said the Bengals.
Yeah.
But some of the games that they've lost, only putting up 6 points to the Browns, left me scratching my head.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because knowing what you know about these teams, I feel like when it's this even and you're this uncertain, everyone would default to Pittsburgh. And they are the worst team in that division. I think that's I'm at 0-4. I think that's kind of been proven to us that, they got a big hole to climb back from. But if I just told you, hey, all of these teams are kind of equally bad right now, which one of them is going to come out of it? You just go Pittsburgh because they are Pittsburgh. But this year, that's being flipped on its head completely. Like, when was the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to finish with a worse record this year than they probably have in decades? That's just not what they do. It's crazy because Ben Roethlisberger is widely considered a top 10, 15 quarterback, but when you just come out and you're an epic fail, like Eli Manning too. If Eli Manning goes like 6-10, is he elite anymore? Like, think back to when people were saying he could be better than Peyton, and then tell me now with a straight face.
I still don't think he's better than Peyton.
No, he was never better.
No.
You're not watching the same game I am if you think that he's better than Peyton Manning. You're just not.
I'm glad that you brought these two teams up because the Giants and the Steelers are both 0-4. I mean, if you had to pick one of these two teams to bounce back and possibly, now this is going to be a little bit out there, to make a playoff run, who would it be?
Ooh. That's a good one. I mean, I think I still go New York.
Okay.
It's funny, too, because just here for us in Milwaukee, we came into the year knowing that the Packers were playing the AFC North and NFC East, and we were like,
yeah,
oh, that's the toughest schedule out. Like, you don't want those two divisions. Give me those two divisions, please. I'll play anybody in those divisions. I go New York.
I'm taking the Giants as well.
I would, and you know why? And it's just, and it's kind of a lazy thought of me, but I just default to, I do believe the Cowboys are the best team in that division. I believe that for a while they maybe had the most talent in that division. But the Cowboys always find a way. Like people think about the Lions. They always find a way to mess it up. They're going to do something stupid. There's going to be that game where Dallas has a chance to clinch the division or do something major. Really put away the Giants season, and they're going to choke it away. It's bound to happen. I don't want it to, and I'm actually a Tony Romo fan, and I think he's much better than people give him credit for. But if I had to default to something, it would be that the Cowboys are likely to choke.
They usually do.
Yes.
And I'll defend Tony Romo when it comes to playing in the regular season. But when it comes to Week 16 or Week 17, when the season is on the line, he cannot get it done.
It's so unfortunate, too, because I think he is a really good quarterback. There are a lot of teams that would sign up to have a guy with his amount of talent playing the quarterback position for them. And what I always thought was really, really interesting, and he's failed since, but he was immediately labeled a choke artist and just a guy who can't perform in the clutch. As a quarterback, did we already talk about this? Based off of something that happened on special teams. But he perpetuated the idea that he was a choke artist late in games as a quarterback by continuing to fail in Week 16 and Week 17 and being unable to beat the Giants to close them out and things like that. But the original thought that Tony Romo was a choke artist came on a special teams mistake. Has zero to do with his ability to play quarterback, when you think about that. It was when he botched the hold against the Seattle Seahawks. If he doesn't do that, Tony Romo might not be thought of in that breath. If he holds the extra point and wins a playoff game, Tony Romo may not be labeled as a choke artist.
Well, at first, when he was given that label, I don't think it was fair.
Right.
But over time, I think you can give him that title.
No, I said it. Yeah, he's perpetuated that idea since then and that thought and proven those people to be right. But off the bat, originally, when we started saying, he can't perform in big moments, it's like, dude, not every starting quarterback is expected to hold the extra point in that spot, And the ratio of extra points he missed or botched the hold to how many he got right it's ridiculous. But in the biggest moment as a special teams player, he totally failed them. God, that was such a crazy moment. If he flips it in for a 2-point conversion and it turns into a huge success instead of a huge failure, like Tony Romo is a hero.
You always wonder what would happen if, Tony Romo would have been able to actually run it in.
Yeah.
Or flip it in or whatever and actually convert that 2-point conversion. But that did not happen.
No.
Let's move on from Tony Romo, the Giants, and the NFC East. Let's head west to the AFC. So you've got a fourth of the season done already. You've got Peyton Manning sitting at 16 touchdowns and 0 interceptions on the season. Does Peyton Manning break Tom Brady's record of 50 touchdowns in one season?
Yeah.
If you do the math,
yeah.
He's projected right now to 64 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean,
but
he's not going to keep that pace.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Can he keep pace enough to get to 50? I say yeah. What's going to slow them down? I mean,
right now, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting the division they play in. Obviously Kansas City is pretty good, but your division games are games where you don't really feel like when I think about Aaron Rodgers, I'm always like, yeah, he's going to torch some teams, but in that Chicago game, it's not like he's going to light Chicago up for like 5 touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's a division game. They usually play each other tough. They play it close. There's a lot of turnovers because teams know each other so well, and the defenses are usually more stout in those games. I can't say that about the Broncos when they play their division. Like, there are some stat games for Peyton Manning, I think, in the AFC West to be had. I'll say yeah. I'll say that Peyton Manning, if I had to guess right now if he does it or not, will do it. And a part of that, too, is the Broncos don't really have a running game-ish. And they don't need to find one.
No.
So they're not going to try to remake themselves and say, well, you know what, we need to give the ball to Noshawn Moreno more. We need to give the ball to Ronnie Hillman more. They're just going to say, hell, I don't care where we are on the field. It's going to Welker. It's going to Demaryius Thomas. It's going to Julius Thomas. It's going to all those guys. Decker. I mean, just so many weapons, so high-powered. I say that he does it.
I think he does, too.
Yeah.
When the Broncos acquired Peyton Manning, I kind of said to myself, in the first year, he might make a deep playoff run with the Broncos, but in the second season is when I think he's going to dominate the league and win a Super Bowl. I think Peyton Manning, right now, without a doubt, is a Super Bowl. They're the Super Bowl favorites.
Does that change the way you view him if he wins one on the way out? At a different team, no Marvin Harrison, no Reggie Wayne. Has he done is his legacy in a point in your mind where it needs to be solidified, or is it already solidified?
I think it's already solidified right now.
Because for many, they'll say he's not in consideration to be the greatest of all time until he wins another one.
No.
And that this will maybe do that for them and tip them over the edge.
What kind of quarterback have you seen command that offense pre-snap like Peyton Manning?
I'm not arguing against you. If he didn't even win the Super Bowl against the Bears, he's still one of the greatest, if not the greatest to me.
Honestly, if you want my honest opinion, I think there can be an argument made to him being the best of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
The best of all time. There is no other quarterback that I can see command his offense the way that Peyton Manning does.
And if he does in fact get one, to me, I don't know that you can counter that argument. Because I would find me another quarterback who have neck surgeries, miss a full season, change teams, and go to what were they, 9-7 with Tebow when they went to the postseason?
I believe so.
And make that team the powerhouse of the NFL. A team that you could safely say, you know what, probably win 13 games this year.
And don't forget with Tebow that season, didn't they start out 1-4 or 5?
Yeah.
That team did not look good at all.
No.
They did not pass the ball. They were number one in rushing. I believe they were almost dead last in passing.
If he does that, if Peyton Manning were to win a Super Bowl this year, maybe next year with the Denver Broncos, it's going to be really hard to build a case against him being the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, Tom Brady's got one more, and Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns, and Tom Brady went 16-0. There's a good chance Peyton Manning might have the single-season touchdown record. There's a good chance Peyton Manning's going to have the all-time records. He's going to surpass Favre in many of those ways. And you can't say, well, he just did it with one team. He did it with 2 borderline Hall of Fame receivers, and I think Marvin Harrison isn't borderline, but Reggie Wayne, no, because he did it somewhere else too, with a bunch of young guys. In Julius Thomas, Demaryius Thomas, and Eric Decker. And I know you have Wes Welker in there, but the Broncos would be great with or without Wes Welker. You go to a completely new situation that has not been a very good situation for a while for the Denver Broncos, and you become the best team in the NFL. it's going to be hard to argue against, man. I mean, he's worth every penny. Off of a neck surgery at, what was he when he signed?
36?
36 years old.
Something
neck
like that,
surgery.
yeah.
People wondering if he would ever be able to throw a football again. He's worth every penny.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. And you look back on that offseason when the Niners were courting him and they were thinking about pulling the plug on Alex Smith at the time. The Dolphins wanted him really badly, and he was in Miami. And had a meeting with the Dolphins. I mean, every single team, aside from maybe 5 or 6 in the NFL, should have been hunting down Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. And most of them were, because they knew it. Even ones that were good knew, I don't care if my guy's good. I got a chance to win a Super Bowl right now if I get this guy. And now Elway looks like a genius for doing it. I mean, and think about the people who argued against it and said, no, Tim Tebow took us to the playoffs. God, come on, dude. Tim Tebow took you to the playoffs, and you thought that should grant him another year over Peyton Manning? Come on.
And usually when people want to make that argument against Peyton where they say he only has 1 Super Bowl ring,
yeah,
and that's the argument against him, well, I don't like to compare everyone's accomplishments based off of Super Bowls, even though that's what you play for every single year, because in this case, you can't really argue against Peyton Manning. I mean, what more can you ask from the guy? He's won a Super Bowl. He's, I think, second all-time in most passing categories behind Brett Favre, which he might surpass those soon.
He's won the most MVPs, right? Or he's tied with 4, if I'm not mistaken?
Something like that. We'd have to look up the numbers.
Right.
But he, without a doubt...
He split one of them with Steve McNair randomly. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, that was a tragedy in and of itself. But Peyton Manning, without a doubt, has to be considered one of the best of all time.
Yeah. I picked him to win it this year. I had
I think
in the least gutsy preseason prediction ever.
I think you will.
Broncos Seahawks. And I mean, it's like I feel like it's not going to happen because it's because both teams are unbeaten and because it's what everybody would pick, that it's never what you expect. But I still today, tomorrow, any day, I still take Denver right now to come out of the AFC.
And before we head out, Alex, let's get your matchup of the week. You got the Saints at the Bears, Patriots at Bengals, Seahawks at Colts, Ravens at Dolphins, Broncos at Cowboys, and Texans at Niners. If you have to pick one of those games, because I think all of these games are going to be action-packed.
Yeah. I'm not... Saints-Bears is good, but it's not my game of the week because I am way more confident in the Saints than I am the Bears, and I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans blows them out. Okay. Yeah, Patriots-Bengals either. 2 weeks ago, I would have said a lot of these are really, really good, but the Bengals are, my opinion of them is slowly getting worse and worse. I think the game is Seahawks-Colts. I love that one. Seattle is a different team on the road. I would almost prefer this game to be in Seattle because then to me it would be a big time all right, Andrew Luck, are you elite yet kind of game.
Yeah.
Can you go into Seattle with the crowd, with the 12th man, against that defense and put it to them? It's in Indy, so a win is almost cheapened in a way, and it really is. That team is that drastically different at home and on the road, I think. So I think beating them at home is a whole different level of beating them on the road. But still, I mean, it's an undefeated football team against a team of the Colts who I continue to fall in love with. I mean, I really do. So young, so fun, so many guys to be excited about. That's a big one. If you win, if you beat the Seahawks, I think you're in business there. And it's funny. A big game for them because the Titans are tied with them for the division lead. You got to stave off Tennessee,
which I think they will.
I will too.
But
Titans phony, right? They're a phony 3-1.
Yep, phony. But you picked my matchup. I was going to say Seahawks and Colts.
I love that one. I just love Luck and a young, exciting offense.
I think it's going to
against a great defense.
I do too, but I think it's going to quiet a lot of the people that want to compare the 2012 draft class. When you talk about RG3, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson.
That's a whole different angle of it, yeah, that I didn't even think of. The 2 of the 3 main guys in that draft class.
Let's see what happens now. You're going to have 2 of the 3 teams playing each other. Let's see what the Colts and the Seahawks can do. Let's see what Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson will do. I think the Colts will come out on top.
Is there any doubt that of that draft class, the guy who had the least success wins and losses-wise last year out of the big 3 was Andrew Luck, but is there any doubt that he's not going to be the best of that bunch? I know last year you could have made a strong case for RG3. Come on. Yeah, I mean, Luck is the guy. He went number 1 for a reason. Yeah, there was a small thought that maybe, just maybe, Robert Griffin III could be better than him. But Wilson and Robert Griffin is not on the same level, I don't think.
No, and if you want to start an NFL franchise, me personally, I'm not going to pick that mobile quarterback. I'm going to pick that pocket passer.
If you had to take one in general right now.
Andrew Luck.
Over Aaron Rodgers. Because he's younger?
Over Aaron Rodgers?
Not of the three in the league.
Oh, in the league?
If you're starting, yeah. I might go Luck. And I think Aaron Rodgers is the best player on the planet right now.
Well, I mean, the question can be, is it just for one season? Or is it for the next 10 years?
Yeah, no, next 10 years.
Well, then
I give you 5 really good years of your Super Bowl window being wide open with Aaron Rodgers.
That's tough.
Or I say, you know what? Your window's kind of half open right now with Andrew Luck, but soon, and maybe for a really extended period of time, it's going to be wide open.
That's tough.
Because to me, Luck is Rodgers at a young age.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's like, he's not a mobile quarterback, but he's by no means limited to being a pocket quarterback. He's throwing some interceptions and turning the football over now, but he's learning, and soon he's going to have such an understanding for the offense where he's going to learn to eliminate those mistakes and get his interception totals closer to single digits than to the 20s. You know, it'll be like the 10 to 12 range. And when he starts doing that, and he starts, I mean, think about the guys he's throwing to as well. Reggie Wayne obviously is great. But T.Y. Hilton, he's making stars out of a bunch of guys we didn't know could play in the NFL, you know? And he's got Trent Richardson now, too. I mean, they're in such a good spot. I don't know why. I'm gushing over the Colts. But it's just awesome that he was the first overall pick, and he's everything you thought he would be. You know, it doesn't happen a lot.
I still don't know how to answer your question on who would I go with, whether it'd be Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck. That is way too hard for me to answer.
It's hard for me to get over the fourth quarter comeback against Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck had last season. And it was the Pagano game, and there was like this big emotional like surge from the Colts and things like that. But the guy could get it done. I mean, he had more comeback wins last year than anybody, did he not?
I believe so.
I think like fourth quarter drives he was leading. I mean, I remember that he won a couple games on the final drive.
I'm going to take Andrew Luck.
Really?
I'm going to take Andrew Luck. If you're going to project a franchise for 10 years, I'm going to take Andrew Luck.
I think I would too. That's nuts.
And on that note, let's leave it to the viewers. What do you guys think? Last question of the day. Would you rather take Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers for the next 10 years if you were starting an NFL franchise? Today's Red Zone Blitz brought to you by FanDuel.com. Thank you, Alex Petakas of ESPN Milwaukee.
Thank you, man. Always good, fun to talk football with you.
And Dave from Wake Up It's Football, we are out.